Hi, and welcome to the Leader's Edge, how to sharpen your competitive advantage and make a positive impact as a leader in your organization and community. I'm Emily Shiva, and with me is Georgia Donaldson as usual.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning, Georgia.
morning.
Hello.
Morning, Leslie, Emily.
We are
Good
leadership
morning.
coaches and hosts of this are Leslie Lee Fook. Hi, Leslie. Good morning.
Good
Leslie
morning,
Lee.
Emily. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am great, 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 and we're welcoming you, Leslie, from Cancun this morning.
Yes.
And Leslie, yes, and Leslie is the Chief Executive Officer at Incus Services Limited, which focuses on enabling people with data, process automation, and cybersecurity skills that are required for the jobs of tomorrow. Incus offers services to both large and medium-sized organizations and helps them to solve their digital transformation challenges. So we are so pleased to have you, Leslie, on today to talk to us about leading in the time of AI. Hmm.
Absolutely. Nice to be
Yeah.
here, Emily. Hi, Georgia.
Hi. Good.
So as we onboard this topic as usual, we love to call your awareness to the thoughts and feelings that you have, our listeners out there about generative AI. Are you in the group that is embracing it and loving the possibilities that AI brings? Or in the camp that feels extremely skeptical about what this means about your work or how you work? And in fact, maybe too afraid to even try it or to even learn more. So, Georgia, I don't know if you want to say something before we bring Leslie on to share some
Oh,
inspiration and his story.
oh
And
yes. Oh yes.
yeah,
Thank you, Emily. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. Leslie, we want you to jump off by telling us why should CEOs or leaders have any concern at all about generative AI? What is it and why should they be even bothered about it?
Yeah, no, terrific question, Georgia. And maybe I could give you a little bit of a backdrop on that. We first started with generative AI during lockdown, and at that point in time, we had massive performance issues on the team. So we basically had three choices at that point. The first choice was like to get rid of everybody. I thought like if we started from scratch, it'd be a lot easier. The second choice that we had is like we found ourselves on Zoom calls every day, almost trying to beat people into work, trying to get them to submit to do work. But there's all these mental health issues going on at the time. And then we already had a lot of experience, like since 2017 in AI. So our third option was really to try and find better ways for people to work. So we started to build and acquire a little AI that would just be good at one task. And here's the crazy thing, like performance, it skyrocketed immediately. So we just started to buy more AI and acquire more AI. And this is very different from how most people are thinking about AI today. So most people are like, let's apply it to customer service, let's apply it to, marketing or something like that. We thought about how could we apply AI to every area of business. So we went out and we spent millions on AI. That wasn't the original plan. It's not like we had big budgets or anything like that. But we've basically infused AI into every aspect of our operations. And to kind of give you some numbers to this stuff, the typical knowledge worker would do about 8 tasks a day. Right? If you ever done any time management training or anything like the big hack is time blocking. So in your eight
Yes.
hour day, do one task a day. At the end of the
Yes.
year, yeah, the typical knowledge worker does 9,600 tasks. My AI today does about 10,000 tasks a day. So we've added as a small outfit 365 people to our team. People that don't sleep, that don't have bad days. So if you're a CEO, if you're an executive wondering, should I explore this stuff? The question is like, what happens if your competitors are doing this stuff, and they have transformed their operations, and you are still doing things the old way? Because like everybody knows, if you're still doing things, if you still have the same strategies as pre-COVID, then you're losing customers every day.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to let Leslie just give us some context because you started off
Yes.
saying that you brought in the AI into every aspect of your operations. But for some people listening, they may not be aware of what your operations is and how this
Right.
relates. So can you relate it for
So
us?
so
Yes.
so whilst I'll say we are a technology company, we are no different from any other company. So every company out there has basically the same core pillars, right? There's marketing, sales, finance, operations, IT, HR, legal, and other companies other companies have different things. So there'll be risk, there'll be compliance, but they basically the generative AI today is very adaptive in that it understands pretty much everything because we've trained it on a big part of the internet. So if you have a question in life, you normally just go Google it. So the same questions that you go have access, the same answers you have access to, this generative AI also has access to. So it's already aware about all these things. So my company isn't unique in a particular way in that generative AI work for me. It actually works for everybody.
Okay. So Leslie, let's take it down to practical things now for our leaders who are listening and who may be catching us on the rebound. Let's say there is a CEO in a financial organization. Let's use a financial organization. What would be your advice for someone in a financial organization on how to use AI to make that business better?
Oh no, so super interesting question. So I'm actually in Cancun. I'm speaking at the Insurance Association, the Caribbean conference
Okay,
today. So
nice.
directly on financial services, insurance, and if you look at any business today, it's a series of just processes, and financial services are pretty much the exact same. The way we look at AI isn't necessarily like could we apply it to sales or marketing or finance. We look at how do we wrap it around the customer journey. Because if you think about it, every customer, every organization out there wants to be more customer centric. So we look at how do we apply AI across the entire customer journey. Now, most people are thinking about how do I use AI for upsell, cross sell. But if they do that, they're leaving a lot of money on the table because that's the end of the customer journey. So we think about it. How do we use AI to double acquisition? Once we acquire that lead, that customer, how do you use AI to double the conversion rates? How do you use AI to double retention? How do you use AI to double then upsell, cross sell on the back end? So, but the interesting thing is these numbers compound themselves. So by the time you get to upsell, cross sell, you 16x your revenue. So from a financial
Okay.
services perspective, start with like the acquisition side of things as opposed to the end. The impact would be way more.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, and is it when you say that, is it mostly from a communicative standpoint in terms of whether it's
Oh
chat or
no,
email or how
no.
when
So
you say you're
yeah,
using the AI to the customer experience, I'm curious as to what, again, breaking it down a little more
Yes,
to those who
yes.
may
yeah.
not
Well,
get.
I know you only have 15 minutes today, right? But
I know.
if you think about if
Just
you
like
think
a
about
little,
it, like
again, a little extra pizza. So yeah, I get that, but like how? So is it, yeah, is it in the communication process? Is
yeah,
it like, yeah,
e-
how would you
everything,
suggest?
everything. Because if you think about how people buy today, like how do you guys buy?
Mhm.
The first thing is you go out and you have a problem. You go try to find information around that problem. So do they have the assets out there to give information about the problems that people are having today that lead them
Right.
towards eventually purchasing or being nurtured by a particular organization? So that could be
Ah,
blog posts, that could be news articles, that be all of those things. But the secret is the trick is in creating a process around it all. Because if you think about everybody's buying journey, wouldn't you agree? It's the same process. You do some research, you might sign up for some free stuff, you get some more information, then you pay for some stuff. You pay for some stuff, then there's an ancillary product or service on the back end that might complement that initial purchase. And that's basically everybody's customer journey. So how do they do it? Well, they need to meet every single customer on every channel that's available because everybody communicates on different channels. So
right.
today we are probably on LinkedIn, we might be on Facebook, but there are people on TikTok, there are people on Twitter. So the problem today is that there's a lot of channels and you still have the
Yeah.
same number of people, the same number of teams to connect to all of your customers across all of their channels. So it's really about how do you maximize the content that you're producing? How do you deliver it on the channel regardless of what that platform is? So it is, but it is thinking through that process more than anything else.
Okay. So, Leslie, from your experience over the years, would you say that you have seen leaders in higher levels more reluctant to, handling and dealing with AI, and people at the lower level are more accepting? What's the
So,
case?
terrific question. So I've seen a mix of things. I've seen leaders who are completely embracing it. I would say, and it's not an ageist thing. There are maybe older leaders who want to preserve their legacy and and see the impact of what AI could do. So they would also embrace it too. It's not to say like older folks or the younger folks will. It's not like that at all. But what's interesting today is this, is that, and I think most people miss this, is that the old form of AI, it required big investments. So there used to be a requirement for some strategic objective at the high end to do these things. The crazy thing about this particular AI is that the thresholds to get in are so low that the operational teams, that the tactical teams, that the individuals are actually using AI in organizations, and sometimes leadership doesn't even know because it doesn't require a credit card to go buy something.
Right.
So it's
Yes.
very interesting dynamics today.
Yes.
I'm curious about that. I mean, that's an interesting thing. So, you're dishing out tasks and AI is doing it. And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious about what is equality if you're not aware. I know when we had our initial conversation, you also touched on maybe even some of quote unquote dangers or things that people should be aware of when
Yes.
using AI, especially with your information, the free versions. So I don't know, again, if you have a minute to like explain
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
challenges and like what should, again, is it that companies need now to put some structure around the use of
Yes.
AI for themselves?
Yes. So absolutely, and I'd say even before that is really about having a strategy around it, but developing a
Mm,
strategy that really brings their team along, because
right.
if it is just top down, we're in a world today where that just doesn't work anymore. So you need to engage your team to get their ideas, build that into your strategy. But once you do that and you start ideating and you prioritize the way that you're going to go about the strategy, the next important thing, and we have a whole framework around it called the Incus Intelligence Framework. But the next important thing is putting the guardrails in place. Now, what a lot of people miss today is that if you're using something for free online today, chances are you're the commodity. So a lot of these big platforms are actually harvesting your data. On
Yes.
the easy side of, or I guess on the I like to look at the good and bad. On the good side of things, and this is like maybe not good, but less bad. On the less bad side of things, is that they take your information and and they retrain their models. So a competitor of yours comes in a couple months later. You have some unique idea, and they are in your niche, and they go they search for something in the AI, and they get access to your idea. That's what kind of on the good. On the bad side of things, with the data protection laws, with the data privacy laws, with all of those things coming into place across the territory, but also globally, if you have a customer that is, for example, from the UK or from the EU, and you take their information, you put it into the platform, and the platform saves it and records it, or you just put it into the platform, that's a data breach. So you could be
Oh,
subject to massive fines. I'm talking about 20 million euros, up to 20 million euros. And
wow.
that's because one of your team members is using free ChatGPT. Now the answer is not to block these tools, but to find mechanisms where your team has access to AI in a safe way, in a guarded way, where they
Right.
understand their ethical responsibilities around using these things. But yeah, I see just the first knee jerk is let's block it. But the answer, the reality is they have their phones, so they still use it on their phones. Here's a
Right.
crazy number: 40% of employees who are already using generative AI will take a pay cut before giving it back up.
Look at that.
It's a
This
crazy number.
is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know
40%.
exactly what the percent, but 40% of people who use it will take a pay cut before giving up the tool.
That sounds unbelievable, but I guess they get hooked on it. It's so
It is. It
they,
is.
they just
It's
love
something
it.
that you turn. So like what we've done is really incorporated, and this is nobody's talking about this stuff. It's hyper automation into it's like how do you infuse AI into all aspects of your business, and that's termed hyper automation. Nobody is doing this stuff. Nobody's is even addressing these things. So when you could take a process that would take an individual months to do, and you could create a process around it that's AI augmented and churn it out in minutes, and how are you going to give that up?
No way. No way. Because people are now saying once you go, you know.
Yeah,
And there's no
absolutely.
turning back. Yes,
Yeah,
there's no turning
absolutely.
back. Yeah. So, guys,
100%.
listen to this. I was on a conference a couple of days ago, a coaching conference, an international summit, and they were talking about using AI in coaching. Yes, Emily, it was mind boggling some of the things. And they were talking about the coaching conversation between the coach and the client, and maybe using Norton, Fathom, and Notion. so that you capture the conversation and then it can spit out the notes for you and the action items for the client. And there are lots of questions about confidentiality around that. What are your thoughts on that, Leslie?
So I've already built AI that does that actually. So I have
Oh, my word.
I have a leadership coach that's what he does. That's what he did. So he built some AI. I helped him build the AI for it, but it will
Right.
have a conversation. The reality is you guys are humans as well. You
Yeah.
don't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody's going to need you
So
at some point
human.
in time. You're not
It's
going to
so
be available.
human.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we
Pinch.
built AI that does that, and it captures the information on the back end.
Mhm.
The underpinning thing here is trust. And if you think about,
Yeah.
like, when you do business with a company or an individual, it's about trust, because we're all leaving little breadcrumbs of our data every single place, right? So for
Mhm.
example, like, this is a big conversation about, okay, I chat with a chatbot that that goes somewhere. What's the big thing about that? The reality is, if you guys use Facebook or any of the social media platforms, you are leaving
Yeah.
60,000
Hmm.
60,000 different bits of data when you use those platforms. That's how much data they're collecting
Wow.
on you. So they're concerned
Wow.
about chatbot. That's like one conversation. That might be 10, 20, 30 data points about an individual, right? So the
Mhm.
bigger monster is out there, and we're kind of ignoring that stuff. But as a coach, as a CEO in a company, anybody using this AI for their customers is about doing it in a way that generates trust and
Mhm.
transparency, so that your customers know how you're using the data. People don't really have a problem with you using the data, they have a problem with you abusing the data.
Right. Okay.
And
Good
not,
point.
and not being aware of their rights in it,
Yeah.
not being
Good
able
point.
to, yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
absolutely. So
So can
I
you
see the
believe the
time,
time?
Georgia.
Yes, yes. So maybe we want to ask Leslie now, as we take our leave. Leslie, what's one thing you think those watching or listening should do?
Yeah.
So what action item?
So the we had probably the biggest transformation that we will ever see in our lifetime. That's what I believe, at
Mhm.
least. And 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 the thing is, in this particular, things are moving so quickly. There's a guy who coined this term, and it used to be a place where the big companies would basically, big fish would eat the small fish. That's how it
Mhm.
used to be. But this
Yeah.
technology is very, very different, and it's the fast fish that eat the slow fish. And
Ha.
and the thing is, that first mover advantage is massive, because studies show that first movers take 90% of the market. So
Hmm.
for me, like, the biggest risk in all of these things is not doing anything. It's sitting back and
Right.
waiting. So what's the one thing I would want to leave you guys with is that you need to take action now,
Mhm.
about these things, because it's gonna impact every single person on the planet, every single knowledge worker.
Yeah,
Wise words, Leslie. Wise
love
words.
that.
Emily, over to you to wrap.
Yeah, so Leslie, thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time. Enjoy your conference in Cancun. It's been very informative just having this short conversation. And I really hope that persons listening would take in what you're saying, not stay on the sidelines and do nothing. Because sometimes when
Mhm.
we are not sure what to do, we just kind of watch. This is not the time to stop and watch for too long. Get
Right.
engaged, get involved, use resources. There are people like Leslie, of course, the whole internet. There's, there are lots of ways to learn about AI and how you can use it responsibly. Understand that your team is probably using it already if you're not aware. So maybe check in on that. Do not shut it down if that is the case. Try to manage it. Try to form a strategy around it, is what Leslie had said.
Right.
Be responsible in how you choose to use it and infuse it in your organization, and see how you can get that first mover advantage that Leslie's talking about. I know that's a lot easier said than done, but the idea is really take some action. Think about it. You have the capacity. It's out there. It's not going anywhere. So let's
Right.
embrace
Wonderful. Thank you, Leslie.
it. Leslie, take
Have a
care.
good trip.
And
Take
Emily, don't
care.
forget to see the link that I gave you guys. So in terms of the framework, we go through that framework in our workshop. I'm happy to give away a couple of seats to your audience as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please send me well, you can put the link onto
Sure.
our LinkedIn when we post it, or send it to me on WhatsApp and I'll post it up for you.
All right,
Not a
cool.
problem.
Right.
Thank
Bye,
you
guys.
Wonderful.
guys.
Have a
Have
good
a
one.
Take
wonderful
care.
week. All right.
Invitation. See
Bye
Bye.
you.
now.
Bye bye.
Bye.